So if I read about the word, I don't know, river, then I can have this picture or this tiny subtle feeling about, I don't know, nature and being free and being like something about I think at that time is what it was important for me to this kind of eternity of nature, which I had often when words related to nature were coming up. And I also read, for example, that it's not possible to learn any language the same way how you know your mother tongue, to feel it the same way how you feel about your mother tongue.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to learn the Finnish language. I wanted to also prove that thing wrong. I wanted to know what happens if I really focus on the emotions while I feel the word.
Welcome to this episode of How I Learned Finnish with Johannes. Today we have a very special guest. I got introduced to him through my activity on Reddit. I was putting my information about this podcast out there on Reddit, and somebody connected us, and
I don't even know how.
I don't remember how exactly.
Yeah, he sent me the Reddit at least, but
right. And then here we are. I think the initial contact was maybe a month or two ago, and then
that much. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I was in Norway, so
right. You were in Norway. Yeah. Right. Let's do just a quick rapid fire.
By the way, thanks to call me special. I guess every guest is special. So.
Well, first of all, if you've done this, if you've achieved this goal, that is something special.
It's
one of those. It's one of those hard things to achieve that doesn't put $1 million in your account, but it's still hard to achieve. So.
Yeah, I once saw a YouTube video about somebody having the world record in pencil sharpening. So yeah,
pencil sharpening.
Yeah, how many pencils you can sharpen down to completely decreasing them down to rubbish.
That is
in a certain amount of time.
That's very specific.
Yeah, that also very hard, specific. But very
yeah.
Okay, let's go. Sorry.
No, that's fine. All right. So let's rapid fire beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Name.
Matthias.
Age.
25.
What's your profession?
I'm now a research assistant here. We're filming in Aalto. We're doing something about helium, superfluid helium, but otherwise I'm a student in officially electrical engineering, but I basically just do physics nowadays.
Oh wow, okay, right, fair. And do you have any nicknames?
I have this acronym in which I use on the internet, which is called Matthew Steele. Okay. I call most of my accounts like that because my brother is from the Stronghold 2. Did you ever play Stronghold?
No.
Okay, the main character there was called Matthew Steele, and my name is Matthias, so that's in English it's Matthew. And for some stupid reason, my brother called me Matthew Steele at some point. So
and then
I just keep using it. But otherwise, yeah.
Right.
Okay. I have a second name. On Tinder I once called myself Ed because my second name is Edward. But
so it
never really stuck. I tried to use it for a little while, but I don't know.
It didn't really work out like that.
Yeah, I'm just used to using the name.
Do you feel like if you weren't on a date and then before you meet each other in person for the first time, they shouted Ed, you would respond to it?
If they shouted Edward, maybe I would.
But not Ed.
Oh.
Okay.
That was just because I don't want to put my real name on Tinder.
Fair point. Yeah. Because, I don't know what you get up to on there, but...
No. Nothing weird, don't worry. But it's just... A friend of mine once said it's like a fish market, so...
Yeah. It definitely, yeah.
At least it feels...
A very inefficient fish market.
Yeah, you'll never find any fish, yeah.
But okay. So briefly, how does Finland show up in your life story? What brought you here? How long have you been?
In my life story, I mean, right now, of course, I'm living here, so quite on a daily basis, I would say. But in my life story, first time, if you really want to take it precisely, I normally never tell that story because I'm tired of telling the story every day.
Oh, okay.
But now we can take the long run. So first time I got somehow introduced with the northern countries was when we had this little globus, this little where you see the whole world,
Yeah,
you know. And then I
Sweden.
checked out Europe, and then
Yeah.
I don't know. I encountered Sweden, and then that was like the first time I even found the northern lands, and then I found like Sweden has this really ugly name. I don't know why.
Like in Swedish or just the word Sweden?
No. The word Sweden
Is ugly.
in German. I don't know. It's called Schweden. I don't know. You know. But
Schweden.
Schweden.
Okay.
I found it in German as a child. I was 5 or so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I found it very ugly.
Right.
So, but this has actually implications on later on. So,
Okay.
so then the second time I ever encountered Finland was when I was in Italy for 1 year as an exchange student.
Okay.
While I was 15, and the one of our like partners there, or like the guys who was with me in the same city, was also was a Finn. So that was like kind of the first time how I ever got like some kind of relationship with Finland, but at that time still very abstract. And then like later on, I went to Nepal because I was interested in meditation. I was having a hard time at school and got a little fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was getting interested in all this kind of like self-development and self-exploration thingy, and like, I don't know, repairing yourself and healing traumas, whatever. And then I decided to go to Nepal for a few weeks, for 6 weeks. I actually got it got a place where to do a little bit of volunteer work through somebody at my yoga studio. So I was really like into this kind of hippie stuff. And when I was in Nepal, I noticed that it's like kind of really, really rough to be that far away, and it's also like not really worth it to go that far away if you don't speak the language.
Right.
And also because it's hard like to go that far away on a regular basis. So I was like having this longing for something a bit more permanent, where I'm not just like going there for a while and then I'm never returning back.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, next time I go anywhere, I'm gonna go do it in Europe. And I didn't want to go to Italy or like to the south.
Mm-hmm.
Italy would be fine, but like I wanted to like see something new. So we can later still maybe go to like how it exactly played out, but in general, like if I would ever learn a new language or like go to another country, it would have been in the north, and because I didn't like the east. And so I had to choose, and this is where Sweden comes from, where the Sweden part comes in. I could have chosen if I want to go to the north, from Denmark, Finland, Sweden, and Norway, but I didn't want to fly, so not Iceland.
Okay.
And Denmark is boring because it's next to Germany. I'm from Germany, so like,
just a neighbor. Yeah.
And Sweden, dude, the name is just no.
It's so funny the kind of things as kids just decide.
Yeah.
And it's that way. It's just that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a thing with bananas. I don't like bananas.
Because of the name?
No, not because of the name. Just taste wise. And I've managed to learn how to like bananas, but then I can't eat it in anything other than just as a banana. So if it's in something, it's like,
that's terrible. The other way around would be much nicer, because banana just or for me, it's like just a banana is kind of like dull. It's like, it's okay because it has a lot of sugar, but kind of like,
I think maybe for my, so childhood, hated it. Then there's my sporting background, so not a bit like past age 10. Then I was like, okay, we're doing sports. What is it called? The nutrients from bananas, like quick hit. Then it came, so I had to learn to eat it.
Okay.
But so I think really I still hate it, but it's like a necessary evil.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other ones, dates or so.
That never showed up in my childhood. But if you're talking about like romantic dates, I hated those as a kid too.
No. Come on.
But yeah.
You're a girl, you're evil.
She has cooties.
Whatever.
But all right. Okay, so so you moved to Finland, and then actually in the story of you coming here. So at what point did you then decide, okay, I'm moving here, and then for what, and then all of that?
That was so. My parents gave me. I was still a little fucked up after high school, so my parents gave me this period of finding myself.
Okay.
Where I could just do whatever I want and learn whatever I want, and I was I got a place as a nurse student in
Okay.
May, and my high school ended in something like July or so.
Okay.
And then I went to Nepal in September,
Okay.
and after that I still had to wait like for 8 months. And
8 months for
until the nursing like
school starts.
started.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you had time to.
Yeah, I wanted to study medicine at that point.
Yeah.
Later, I like figured out that it was basically just for my own ego, because like medicine, oh, you're gonna become a doctor.
Right.
So, I don't know. What do you tell yourself when you're young? And then what I did was like I think what I remember was that I was really still very much into this like kind of trying to figure out how to feel strong emotions and strong positive emotions, finding kind of the mystery in the world. So that was like where this kind of longing for faraway places also came from. You know, when you're young, just coming out of high school and you just want to explore the world and like find new things. I still have that, of course, but it's much more grounded nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I'm not getting swayed away that much by emotions anymore, and I also don't want or don't have the capacity for it in my daily life. So at that point I was really like, I don't know. Then I went hitchhiking for 2 weeks, and I wanted to go to Finland because I was like kind of, oh, Finland is far away, it's up in the north, it sounds like mysterious and like somehow there's where the real men, that's also like, there's where the real men are, you know, like kind of like Viking thingy, even though we don't have much Vikings here, but
Yeah. Right.
I don't know, something like that. And also like also something about proving myself, so I wanted to learn something difficult, so I wanted to learn a new language, just to have it on my freaking ego list.
Right. Hey.
Yeah.
You gotta satisfy something, and sometimes you can do that. Sometimes it's good.
I mean, yeah, 100%. Like, don't regret learning Finnish, even though it was because of proving something, dude. Like, of course not. No, it was great. So yeah.
I wish I had used that time for something else. It took quite a bit of effort and time. But yeah. But hey, we're here and we're here to thrive and not just survive. So it's very important. So yeah.
Okay, that sounded like a calendar, something you read in the calendar. We're here to thrive, not to survive.
Hey, like a slogan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so hitchhiking to Finland, but then so did you end up going to the nursing school, or you just completely changed your mind?
No, I went to the nurse school in Germany and got kicked out. Because
what?
Yeah, because like different reasons. So one of them was at that time I was still not so good with adapting to different social circles.
Okay.
And I was also like, I'm still, but nowadays I can like handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who likes to think in a little bit uncontroversial ways, maybe.
Okay.
In the sense of, well, at that time I was like, I don't know, analyzing their social structure and noticing that, for example, they are all addicted to sugar, and that like most of those people who are working there are actually kind of leading a miserable life. And then
people where?
In the nursing school.
Okay.
Like the school was nice, but the like you always have like school first, and then you go to one station where they have like certain diseases, and then you learn working there, and then you go back to school and so on.
Right.
Yeah, and so this combination of me wanting to like do things differently, and then also like already learn about something about medicine and not only about this like nursing stuff, together with just me being still fucked up a little in the head, and also the really restrictive social circle there, it just didn't fit together. Yeah. Also the people like you noticed that there weren't people who went to university.
They were not the kind of people who went to university.
Yeah, no. And I'm definitely a person who like, it was clear that I would go to university.
Right.
And just by the amount, the like way how those people think, it just clashed. So all those things together. But it was probably mostly because I was fucked up in the end. So.
But wait, let's visit this, even though it's not the main topic. What do you mean by they're not people who go to university? Because is it
like they weren't academics, right? And
Yeah.
my dad is an academic. My mother has gone to university, so I was very much somebody who wanted to know stuff, who wanted to learn all the time. And
Okay,
and those
gotcha.
people like
we're not that?
no, not at all.
And was the pathway at that time for you that you go to the nursing school, then after that you go to further medicine?
Yeah.
Medical school? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
that makes sense.
not to go to Finland, but then when I got like kicked out,
Yeah.
then it was I didn't know what to do, and I was like kind of maybe I would just apply for medicine in Finland. Just that didn't work too. Like I was not actually, I was quite good at the at doing the exam here, the entry exam.
Okay.
I got like almost through the first. It was during Corona then, through the first of the two, like kind of
In Finnish, you did the exam in Finnish,
yeah.
huh? And you did well, even though
Quite
you were just
well.
right?
Yeah, I wasn't too bad. I think they went. It was.
Wow.
How much did I have? I think I had 55 points, and I would have with 70 I would have gotten through.
In were you without you knowing Finnish really?
No. I knew Finnish. Like I had been.
Okay.
I had been like during the whole time while I was in nursing school. It was 1 year, and during that time I had been studying like already something, but I hadn't been talking too much.
Wait, you were in nursing school in Germany?
Yeah.
And you were learning Finnish at that time?
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
It didn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Like, so I don't even like. When I think back.
Because I've heard of people who get enthusiastic about a language. Like a lot of people here are very enthusiastic about Spanish or Japanese. I didn't know people would learn it to the level where they can almost get into do the exams for med school. That's a different level
of being enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Actually, was
from abroad. Not even while I was living here, from abroad.
I didn't do that. No. Okay, I didn't do the exam from abroad.
I mean, yeah, like.
But I went I went 3 months before the exam was. I went to here to
Right.
like the idea was I started before and I already started reading stuff. I also started reading in Finnish a little bit.
Yeah.
While I was already doing like nursing stuff, but then the idea was that I would still like go for 3 months here to like learn properly and then like get my B2 but like that was also stupid. I didn't get B2. I got B1 in 4 months, but
Wow. Okay.
yeah that was I don't know like that was also already good, but like
yeah,
but still like as a young man you're sometimes like just completely overestimating yourself or like yeah.
So hold on. So you at some point you hitchhiked to Finland.
Mm-hmm.
Then this was before you started at nursing school.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
a few months before. Yeah.
A few months before. So you started essentially, even best case scenario, you started learning Finnish. Let's say when you hitchhiked to
A bit before.
A bit before.
Yeah, like 1.5 months before hitchhiking.
You started learning Finnish. But how were you learning Finnish at that time?
So I had this in Germany they have this Langenscheidt little books. It's
Actually, can I briefly interrupt you? I want to get the timeline down first, and then I can ask you the different parts of it. So before hitchhike, and then after hitchhike, you go back and you do nursing school.
January 2019. January 19.
January.
I bought this, I don't remember the name of the book, but it's like a 3,000 words book. A lot of useless words.
Okay.
They had the periodic table in it. 3,000, not 300.
3,000, yeah.
Yeah.
3,000 word book.
For like just vocabulary.
Yeah, okay.
And I started with that one and basically learned all the words in there. It wasn't really like the useful ones were just I think half of them.
Right. And this was before the hitchhike, right?
That was before I didn't finish the book. I think I finished learning all the words. No, actually, I think I finished learning most of them in the 2.5 months.
Okay. So you like actually went through and like tried to memorize the words and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
3,000. That would take you a long way.
It was 1,500, I think.
That you did, yeah.
The yeah.
Okay. And then when was the actual first arrival to Finland?
That was March something like 23rd of March in 2019.
March 2019. Okay.
Yeah.
March 2019. Finland on the hitchhike bit. Okay. And then you go back, and then you go back to start the school when?
In beginning of May.
Okay.
And actually, like, I was also doing this weird kind of. I was really into masculinity at that time. I was doing this weird kind of hikes into the wildness, like where it's really cold up in Uvascula, and like wanted to sleep there and like
Okay.
in the wild. And it was like March, and one time it was like minus 10 degrees. It was
Yeah.
super freaking cold. But yeah,
So you were here for how long when you came?
just 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't learn much of Finnish.
I mean, I guess from that, no, but you had already done the three.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so you go to school, and then when did you get kicked out from the school?
I think July, end of July or mid of July or something.
So you were there like 2 months?
3 months.
3 months. Oh wow. Okay. That's a quick kicking out, bro.
Yeah. Actually, there was another girl who was also like in the same place, in the same station, just us two, and she also got kicked out.
Oh.
I wonder if they kind of like sorted it, or if the station was just weird. I don't know.
Kicked out. And then at which point do you decide that you're gonna come to the 3 months before you write the medicine exam?
That was basically a few weeks after that I was deciding that.
Okay.
So then.
So when did you actually arrive then?
February. I think it was 18th of February. I think I remember the date. 18th of February.
Of the next year.
Yeah, 20. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so you decided that you made a decision like almost immediately.
Yeah.
But then you actually arrived February 20.
Yeah. I first still did a for like in Germany, for if you want to drive the car for rescuing people, that only takes 3 months. Yeah, paramedic.
Yeah.
That only takes 3 months of.
So you did that.
I did that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't get kicked out.
So 3 months. Okay. And then February 2020, and then you arrive, and then you did the exam in, I guess, May-ish.
Yeah. That was Corona. Like I was here just for a month before Corona started.
Right.
Which was really nasty.
I was actually on exchange at this time in Glasgow, and then I had to leave.
You had to leave back to Finland?
Yeah, Glasgow. And then I had to leave.
Wait, which country is Glasgow?
Scotland.
Scotland.
Yeah. I had to leave because my ex heard on the news that the flights weren't leaving anymore from there. So I had like 48 hours to just pack up all my stuff and head to London by bus.
Yeah.
And then fly back home. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I think I was also kind of like trapped in Finland, but I also didn't want to leave. I think I took the first. I took the first trip.
You know, if X had not advised me, I might have just done what the ostriches do and just put my head in the sand and stayed.
Yeah. If it would you have had like anybody to hang out with, or?
I had some family friends who who lived nearby, and I'm sure there was people who decided to stay, and I would have found people. I don't know.
I mean, it was Corona. You wouldn't have found people, right?
True. That's true. I'm sure there was online somewhere. If you get lonely
online, of course.
You find
Sure.
Yeah. So February 2020, and then when you wrote the medicine exam in.
I think it was at some point. It wasn't at some point in May.
May.
I don't remember the date. I think 13th or so.
May 2020. You wrote the med exams. And already at that point, then you had already gotten the B1. You said.
I got my B1's really certificate on something 1st of June or something like that. I think that the exam was actually even after the med exam.
Yeah.
But it was more or less then, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Right. So now that I have the timeline for this, I just want to go through, because this is the whole essence of this, that what were the things that you were doing in those times to kind of keep you, get you towards the this is so a little different from the format of how I usually do it, but I love how there's like a very interesting timeline that you have. So
just to let you know, the most important part is actually going to be February to March. That is going to be one of the most important
parts. Of the 2020. Okay. But so initially, before you even come to Finland, you take that 3,000 word book, and then you successfully manage to kind of memorize-ish about half of it.
So like what you need to know about when you do it the way I did it, with just like having this book and is that you will, like many people say that if you just use it with a vocabulary book, that that's a bad way to learn vocabulary, because you make them kind of like you are sticking to the order of the words.
Mm-hmm.
And I think actually that's not really true.
Okay.
For example, Duolingo is also based on that.
Right.
That you like always get them in a different order, you know. And I think that's actually not even true. Like I actually found it kind of useful in a certain way to.
Duolingo.
No. I never used Duolingo. No.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't work because it's on a screen. So first of all, not screen, in my opinion,
mm-hmm.
books, because you have this haptic thing. You have something, everything which gives you extra kind of connections, synaptic connections, makes it easier to memorize something. So also, like I noticed, and I have been over the past half year been reading a lot of stuff in the internet, and not even books in the internet, and not just like with real books. And you just notice the difference that if you have a real book, especially if you can write in it, you're just remembering everything so much better.
Right.
Just from even subconsciously the touch of the pages and stuff like that. And also this thing of that you develop a kind of geometrical sense of what is written in the book, like first and then what comes later. While when you just have things which you scroll, like it looks all the same. Like you don't have this thing like, okay, most of the pages are on the left side, most of the pages are on the right side, where you're like kind of, okay, this is in that part of the book. You just have like a screen, and then everything looks the same.
Right.
So that was one thing where I noticed that when I was learning with this book, even though I remembered like one word and then I remembered the one after that, kind of like it was for me one line of words being related to each other, even though they shouldn't be. It was kind of helping me to, in other situations, also like every time remember the same, like reinforce those kind of structures. So.
Right. Okay. My theory on that one is like the more anything you do that creates some kind of friction that runs the process through your brain. Yeah. Like just forcefully runs the process through your brain, gets you closer to the thing. So if you write whatever, if you're looking at the thing and you're writing some stuff down, it causes like it's kind of running your brain through the process, and that's all of those kind of little things matter or help out. Yeah.
And if I like hear a word and then I remember another word because I hear the word, that's great.
Right.
So
yeah. So then that's the January part with the book, and then when you arrive here, you said you were only here for 2 weeks, so that really
I mean I tried a lot. I was trying to talk with some drunk person in a bar that was funny, but didn't really work. I didn't understand it.
Like a one-time occasion?
Like from time to time I was trying it, but it just, I don't remember so much also, to be honest, how much it really, like how much I learned. I tried to watch a movie, but I didn't really understand anything of the movie.
Okay. Yeah, because one of the guests that I interviewed, he had a thing where he would go to bars and talk to drunk Finnish people in Finnish. And that's actually a very good one. Yeah.
I actually did that in Norway. Like I later learned Norwegian. Okay. But that worked much better because Norwegian is so similar to German. So that it's like you kind of like just you start where you're not even when you're learning. Like your starting point is just much higher.
Right. So, and you just see words and you know what they mean without. Yeah,
exactly.
That's just always such a cheat code when you're doing it. And then you say in May 2019, so you're in school, and then July. So March 2019 you go back, then you start school, then July 2019 you finish that, you paramedics.
I think actually one thing I still want to throw in just as a funny thing when we already want to go to Finnish language. The thing I already noticed when I went there in the 2 weeks was that it's so funny that I noticed that in Finnish when you do those sentences, you always have the prepositions on the end of the word, right? You never say like at the table, you say like pöydällä, right? Or like on the table. So I already noticed that my brain kind of had to switch the way how it's processing language in general. Like it's not only about the words and about like knowing the words and the grammar. It's also about knowing when your brain will pick out certain information from the sentence. And I also noticed that actually we're all the time anticipating what the other person is going to say. And I really noticed that when I was like trying to learn Finnish during those 2 weeks, because I noticed afterwards, like sometimes when I heard a sentence, I actually knew all the words, but I just couldn't react to it because my brain was just so slow and I couldn't anticipate what the person was saying. Partly because also I didn't know when are, for example, the prepositions coming, and then I was like expecting somebody saying like on the table where the preposition is coming before the word, and then it's like pöydällä, and then the word pöytä already like passed by, and then I was afterwards like, oh, but where was the preposition?
Right.
So like all this
table on.
Yeah. Exactly. So all those kind of like, you don't think about it when you just think about learning a language, but all that kind of stuff actually had a really big impact on. Or I noticed that my brain really needed to adjust for that.
Right. Okay. It's fascinating. Yeah. So then February 2020, you come back to Finland to prep for the med school exams as part of your prep for the med school exams. Yeah. And then in May 2020, you write the exams. And then you said in June, you wrote the certification exam for the Finnish as well. And you realized that you are at B1 at that point.
No, I think I got the certificate at the beginning of June and I wrote it at end of May.
Okay.
But I don't remember. I could look it up, but it doesn't really matter.
It's not that significant. But anyways, this is about a 3-month period.
But it was an exam where you can write B2 and B1 in the same, and then when you get the results, it's going to show you either which level you are. Yeah. And I got B2 for reading, but B1 for all the other levels.
Is it UK? The UK test?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So what did you do in that February to May period to kind of prep for this? Because because up until this point, you've only really learned Finnish for like a year, or year and a half.
Yeah, 15 months or so. Yeah.
And of the 15 months, you spent like 12 of that not in Finland.
Yeah.
So.
And 1.5 during Corona.
So what kind of drugs were you on? Like how
actually hashtag that is actually funny because I had this tiny this is actually, dude, I was so weird at the time, man. I should become weird again.
You shouldn't or should be?
I should. It was really
okay.
Like, I mean, I there was some things about this times which was really funny and really fun also, and really like just insane.
Okay.
I should get a little bit more crazy again. Anyway, I had this like little Langenscheidt. Langenscheidt is a brand in German who they publish how do you call it, dictionaries.
Okay.
And they have like this tiny ones which you can put in your pocket.
Yeah.
And at some point, I bought like when I was through with the first one, I bought this little Langenscheidt, and I was like, I'm just gonna learn all the words in this one.
This is definitely the thing you said, like, yeah, young men overestimating their abilities.
No, I managed to do it.
You did? Oh my god!
I always wrote the things down. It became this kind of meditation for me. And at some point I kind of got addicted to it. And when I was done, I did it with the Italian one.
You did Italian as well?
Yeah, I never learned all of those.
Oh, okay.
But I wrote all of those down because I was like kind of addicted to all this writing down. Because this kind of you get really in the mode. You get like kind of this.
Yeah. And moving your body and doing the thing also kind of, again, is one of those like run your brain through the process kind of
yeah. Writing those down was most of the part, I think, was actually writing the words down. I also still afterwards had to learn a lot of them. But I don't even know why, but for some reason, like after I wrote them down, I could learn them better than just in the dictionary.
I feel like, because the process of just sitting and learning something, it's like one ear out the other very often. But if you force yourself to write it, it's like you have to process it on a different level.
Yeah. And
then going forward, once it's been kind of stamped in your head one time, you can kind of, it's easier to replicate it.
Yeah.
Easier to replicate it. And then
I didn't notice the same thing with my studies. Especially if I have to write something about the thing I'm reading, then it's like, oh, I really need to actually understand what I'm like reading here, not just like think I understand.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I have this notebook nowadays. I notice myself, I'm doing a lot of different things, including this podcast.
Yeah.
And I notice my brain just things just floating in my brain all the time. But okay, so then what exactly prompted you? Because we've kind of heard a bit of the story, but what exactly prompted you to like, okay, I want to learn Finnish?
I don't know. It somehow had to do with this kind of like, go far away, do something difficult, prove your masculinity thing.
Right.
I don't exactly recall everything.
Yeah.
A lot of it was like just proving my own intelligence or my
Right.
own ego or something. Yeah, I cannot exactly define it anymore because it's already so long away. Or something like that. A lot, like there was this one men's coach where I read this book from, and he was at that time, like the book was very influencing me at that time, and that had something to do with this masculinity thought, but I don't know.
Well, do you remember what the name of the book was?
Of the book, of course, yeah. Nowadays I'm like grown out of it a little bit, but it's called Männlichkeit leben, so living masculinity. I think nowadays it's also translated into different languages.
Okay.
Yeah, but it a long time has only been in German, but nowadays it's
Okay.
yeah. It's a great book.
Yeah, I'll message you about what the name is because it's in German, the name, so I
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So walk me a bit through your like learning journey. I mean, we've gone through a part of this, but like at least from the angle of what things worked and what things didn't.
I think like some things I could have definitely done better afterwards. I also noticed that it definitely makes a difference on how, like on which language you learn, how you should approach something.
Mm-hmm.
So with Finnish, what worked very well, where I was afterwards always thinking, okay, was this really the best one? Was to learn first the grammar really, really precisely, and then apply it together with the words. Like really this kind of stupid German, we do it now step by step way of approach worked really well with Finnish because Finnish has such a complicated grammar and so different from Indo-Germanic and other languages.
That you're saying it worked to learn the grammar well first.
Yeah, but I wonder, it worked very well.
Okay.
But I wonder if there would have been other ways to like also learn it somehow more efficiently. I don't know. It sometimes felt like I could have been more efficient somehow by maybe subjecting myself more to like watching more movies in Finnish or trying harder to really talk to people. But on the other side, I really did that a lot. So
let me push back a little on this one because you did start with the vocabulary thing, right?
Yeah.
But so at the point when you started focusing on the grammar, had you already gone through this vocabulary book?
For the first one, not the small one, not that one.
The 3,000 word book.
Yeah. Through that one, I had yeah. Okay. I think that was also important. First do 2,000 words of like just
the
vocabulary. Yeah. Before you start in grammar. That's like it's stupid to start in. You also don't learn the grammar if you need to do some kind of different endings on words which you don't even know. That's
right. It's
no.
Right. It's like cooking with ingredients that have not been grown yet. Okay. Yeah. So then then it makes sense to like you have a base of words already, then you add grammar to it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And also think you want to have a lot of words. Like when I was in Italy, there was somebody saying, for the basic things you just need 1,200 words. But I think that is just like false. Like you need a bunch of words if you want to enjoy speaking the language.
Yeah.
And I think it's about enjoying speaking the language, not about I'm able to order a cookie. That's stupid. Like I want to have a discussion. If I want to have a romantic thing with a girl maybe and like talk about my feelings. I want to discuss with somebody about politics. Like for that you need at least 4,000 words, probably more.
Right. That's a very fair point. Yeah. There was a thing that I was just on my tongue, but then I kind of.
We're talking about grammar.
Yeah. So So the things that worked and the things that didn't. So you said focusing on grammar at a good time, I guess also works. So and then also another thing I guess is that a lot of words at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, is there anything else that jumps to mind that like okay, this is also really important to learn to do?
Well. So there's a lot of things actually that are important. I don't think I remember all of them right now, but while we go through it, So one thing which now that I think about it, which I really liked about going through the grammar in Finnish was that there's no exceptions in Finnish. So once I knew the grammar and I knew it really well, I knew I don't have to worry about like that some words are somehow different or whatever. And for that, in Finnish, it's you have these things that like certain words, like the endings are the same, but certain words are what is that?
Conjugate.
Conjugating or subjugate or no, whatever.
At least when
it's conjugating with a verb, it's conjugated with a subject, something different, but are like changing their pre-endings kind of a little bit differently. For example, when you have a word which is ending on e, it normally gets the e gets doubled, and then the consonant in front gets harder. So for example, vuote.
Okay, right.
Or like näytä.
Right.
And those kind of things, there's a bunch of rule about those ones. But once you know the rules, it's like I have this box and I know it, and I know it's full. Like I know there's not gonna come anything next to it, and my brain is not gonna get like into this clutter which we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Like once I know it, I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
And that gives you kind of this clarity to then concentrate on the next thing, which is talking and like using the language.
Yeah.
So that I like that very much with Finnish. I don't know if it's necessary, but in that context, like I did it in a very special way. Like I don't think most people learn languages, and I also never learned any of the other languages. But at that point, it was really nice for me.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And then what things did you feel like they did not? This thing does not work.
I always had this feeling that most of the things were kind of working, but working less efficiently than I wanted. And I'm not sure if that was actually related to me just being, young and overestimating how fast it would be possible to learn something.
Okay.
Or if it's something which I really did wrong. I think I did a lot of stuff which just by like stressing myself a ton instead of relaxed learning some words. Like you can definitely like stuff like, for example, when you're tired and you're like you haven't slept well and then still trying to like punch things in your head. It can actually sometimes work if you're like really forcing yourself then. But oftentimes you're just like afterwards, okay, I don't remember
Of this thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Fair.
What I also did a lot at that time was, and I think that was actually really works really well, is like I told you about this that I was a little bit unstable at that time, and I was really trying to feel strong emotions at that time, and partially by concentrating myself very strongly on something. Like when I meditated, I also didn't do it like I nowadays learned how to do it like by meditating in a relaxed way, but I was really like I want to concentrate on like and I did the same thing with, for example, the vocabularies, where I was like really kind of trying to force myself to go into those words and like try to connect them with some kind of feelings, and like I cannot exactly describe it how I mean it, but basically just concentrate myself so strongly on certain words until I felt something related to those words.
Right.
Takes a lot of power or like energy, but it in a certain way it works.
Concentrating on words until you feel something.
So like if you now think, like if you, for example, think about some kind of person or whatever, and then you just feel the emotions you have in your body, like it like will activate some kind of little tiny subtle feelings, anything you think basically, right?
Okay.
So any thought which comes into your head will activate some little kind of feeling. And then that of course also works with the words, like which I was reading in the dictionary. So if I like read about the word, I don't know, river, then I can have this picture or this like tiny subtle feeling about, I don't know, nature and being free and being like something about like, I think at that time is what it was important for me to like this kind of eternity of nature, which I had often when words related to nature were coming up. And then I like really tried to focus on this feeling and like make it grow some and like this kind of thing. And then like feel it where it was in my body or stuff like that. That takes a ton of power to do that, like a ton of energy, and then oftentimes feels like kind of not worth it. But I think that was one of the ways how I learned some words, maybe a little bit more quick.
Okay, so
Maybe it was also just crazy. I don't know.
so there's some kind of sense-based kind of like feeling the word. You know,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's the first I've heard of that one, but it makes sense when you explain it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, we kind of already touched on this, but what resources you used?
Johannes University in Tübingen. He has this perfect slides about the Finnish grammar. That was like basically complete Finnish grammar.
Can you repeat that?
But it's in German, so only German people who are doing it, who are from Germany, are going to find it useful.
Is it a YouTuber called Johannes?
No, it's a professor.
Professor. Okay.
He just did like he just taught Finnish at some university and had this slides about Finnish grammar.
Johannes what?
Delat is
Okay.
his name.
Okay.
I can give you the link, then you can put it in the YouTube.
That would be great. Yeah.
Description. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the German listeners, but.
Yeah. Johannes Delat. Okay. And it is a polyglot. This Johannes person.
He definitely speaks Finnish, but otherwise I don't know.
Okay. So resources that you used, if we go to them, then it's like the word book, the dictionary. What else? Going through, which is then of course this Johannes Delat rules of Finnish, and then you said meditation, I guess.
Yeah, but that's of course not a resource in the term of
right. Fair.
Yeah, and I also don't think the way I did meditation at that time was really maybe useful. I mean, in that meditation on the words, yeah. But the other kind of meditation I did at that time wasn't useful, because then I also focused like super strongly on something different, you know.
Yeah.
And then of course, like the meditation works well when you do this kind of more softer meditation where you maybe scan your body, and then at the same time you also like process things from your life, and then of course also the words are going to come up in your mind.
Yeah.
But if meditation is always, like at that time it was, something which you perform, where you like sit down and now I need to like feel my thumbs and feel whatever, then it's again some input you put in your head, and it's not something where you give your head time to process something.
Okay.
So that, like, for the guys who like meditation, watch out how you do it.
So what else and you said writing was I would consider writing a resource, I guess.
Yeah, you mean like writing the words from the vocabulary? Yeah, 100%. That is actually quite important to kind of get it out of this book into your hands in a certain sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you got motion as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And what other resources have you used that we have not touched on?
Actually, now that you said it, there's a ton coming to mind. So first of all, like now we get to the stage in February, where or on the timeline where there's actually something really important. When I came to Finland, I booked an Airbnb at a Finnish Family.
Okay.
So that was really, for the first step, was really useful.
That's a massive cheat code right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It turned out like it was weird. It was a dysfunctional family. I'm talking a lot about weird stuff today. I'm very sorry about it. But dude, like, what was it? At some point, maybe it wasn't. Yeah, okay, it was actually really dysfunctional. The mother was using somebody else for getting money who liked her, was attracted to her. The girl, okay, maybe I shouldn't say this on the internet. Threw a tantrum because she didn't get Snapchat, whatever. Anyway, but still, I learned a ton of Finnish from it.
Yeah.
And they were also nice. Like nothing. Yeah, still, they were also really nice. And yeah, that was before Corona. And then like the day I had it actually booked in a way that I don't even remember why, but the first season where I was like in the family was just 1 month, and then after that I moved to the woods, kind of to the woods, into a bigger house, which was farther away from the city.
Okay.
I don't remember why anymore, but I was really lucky because it was basically the day that Corona began when I moved to the woods.
Oh.
So that was really like kind of jackpot, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would have worked if I would have still been in the family.
But how long were you with the family?
1 month.
1 month. Okay.
And during that time, so just when I arrived in Finland, I had already learned from the time before where I was doing like while I was studying Finnish, while I was waiting for the nursing thing, that like choirs are a great place to get to know people and like. So yeah, so when I came to Helsinki, basically the first thing I did was check out all the choirs which I could find.
Yeah.
And then I think I was, at the time I was like, when it started, I was trying to be in 4 choirs at the same time.
4 choirs.
4 choirs.
4 choirs, okay.
Because I didn't have anything else to do, of course, except for learning Finnish.
Yeah.
And at the end, I only stayed, like for a long term, I only stayed in 2. Then I, like during that time before Corona started, I tried to stay in 3. But yeah, one of them is still like, kind of like, was for a long time my most, like my base friendship circle while I was here.
Okay.
Also later, like we just today we sang over there in Aalto trying to recruit tenors and basses. So in case somebody is a tenor or bass, viipurilais-osakunnan laulajat.
Viipurilais-osakunnan
laulajat. Yeah.
I might personally be interested.
Yeah.
For bass. I was once in a choir not because I can sing, but because I was enthusiastic.
Okay.
So,
yeah, but then you learn how to sing.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was bass. Yeah.
Yeah, especially as a man.
Well, yeah. This was back in boarding school, high school.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, please go. So choirs.
Yeah. So that choir was actually, and that's also why I'm mentioning it.
Yeah.
Wasn't only important for me, like getting through the Corona time, like being in the woods with almost nobody for 2 months. There was like one old lady living in the house, and sometimes the sun came over, but very rarely, very, very rarely. And it was, but also the choir was basically pushing me super hard to learn Finnish. Like, it was really cool. Like,
Okay.
there was one person who because I also like tried from the start. I was like, I don't know, I only want to talk Finnish. I don't want to talk English. And then there was like one person who hopped onto that super strongly. So anytime he was like next to me and somebody else started like explaining things in English, he was like, no. You say it in Finnish.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, it's always nice. Like it's like having something of an accountability buddy, but in a different kind of way. It's like having somebody stand over you and making sure you do the thing.
Yeah.
And every now and then you need that. You know.
100%. Yeah. So that was really useful, and I also during that time, every time I heard a word which I don't understand, I was writing it down, and then afterwards, like asking the people, especially in the choir, basically only in the choir, hey, what does this mean? And that was also really, really useful. Basically, that was like kind of cleaning up the rests of the things which I still didn't know, because there's a ton of words which aren't in the dictionary, which are like kind of this very special words in a certain sense, which you just don't pick up otherwise.
Right.
I mean, you learn at some point. You learn them anyway if you're far enough, but still.
Well, and I get some words just don't show up in the dictionary, and what my process involved when I'd write words down, and then I'll try to get the English translation or like a dictionary, Finnish dictionary meaning of it. If it was simple enough for me to understand, then I'll use directly the Finnish dictionary meaning, and then I would find example sentences from this website called glossbe.com.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, they have a stack of like movie subtitles, law text like EU legislative text.
Well, maybe I actually do know it. I'm not sure.
And then also like religious text as well. So if you put a word in there, and then it shows up in, let's say, some movie subtitle or some religious text or something, then it gives you like a whole bunch of those, and then I would pick which sentence like is not overly complicated. Then I'll put it in my Excel sheet. Then I would later on transfer them into Quizlet to memorize later.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah,
wow. That sounds like a ton of work.
It was way too much work. And you know the thing you were talking about, writing things down?
Yeah.
This was my equivalent of that.
Yeah.
In hindsight, when I think about it, because this was me physically doing work to make this happen.
Yeah.
So
100%.
so it forces the text to really pass through your brain as you do the work to make this happen.
Yeah.
And then, because if I had ChatGPT just generate sentences for me, it would probably be a whole lot different, where I would actually only be memorizing instead of doing some work with the text, some physical work with the text.
Actually, ChatGPT works well with Norwegian, for example, for me.
Okay.
But then when you have a conversation with it, you just like start talking with it. Then it's kind of nice because you then have to also like start using the words which you kind of already know a little bit because they're just so similar. But if with Finnish, it would have never worked. Because I think what you already kind of almost said, like you meant it, but you didn't say this so out loud. It's like this kind of thing that you need to force yourself, or this thing that the more energy you put in it, the better something stays. I think.
The more useful energy.
Yeah.
Because you can spend a lot of time on like Duolingo. Actually, if you spend like 2 hours every day on Duolingo, I think it would then be useful.
Yeah, and also I mean cognitive energy. I don't mean by just time. I mean like when you use Duolingo and you really focus on the freaking words.
Yeah.
And you're really like, I want to learn these words. I think it would work. It's fun, of course.
Most people just do the 10-minute thing and then so it's it feels very stop start, and you feel like you're doing something because you have a streak going on.
But yeah, if it's 10 minutes, guys. Hey, come. If anybody does less than half an hour a day, it's not gonna work. It's better to do between half an hour and 1 hour a day for half a year than 10 minutes or so for 5 years.
I would say even more than a half hour. Do at least an hour.
I think half an hour. Yeah, probably more than half an hour. But half an hour, like I think below half an hour, it's not gonna bring you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also don't need to nobody needs to do 4 hours a day.
Right.
Like.
But if you can, you should.
I thought this podcast is for making people more comfortable. About you can do it. You
can. And then some people can do 4 hours, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
But yeah.
I definitely did 4 hours at some point when I was doing the.
I wouldn't be surprised because you sound like you wanted to do a lot of hard things and. I think I would only do.
But very rarely also. Like I don't think that the 4 hour sessions were the ones which were the most important. Like the 1 to 2 hour sessions, which I did for a long time, often that was the thing.
I think for me the whole dictionary, Excel to Quizlet process, those took like a long time.
Oh,
those were like multiple hour things that I would do
per day.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not like every day, but when I would sit down to do them, I would do them for a long time because for some weird reason it was very hard to find examples, like to go through the process. It was like it takes a lot of steps to find the suitable sentence because the example sentence I'm using has to be something that I understand, otherwise it counts productive. So
sure.
I have to find sentences that I understand. I have to translate it. I have to check multiple dictionaries for a definition that is like simple enough for me to understand. So
that has to mean that while you were checking the ones which you didn't understand, you were probably also during those ones learning a lot.
That's the whole thing about
because otherwise it would have been a waste of time. But probably you learned also doing those ones a lot.
That's why I meant like there was a whole difference between that and if I had just asked ChatGPT to generate for me, then I wouldn't have gone through those kind of things. But
I hate ChatGPT even though it's really good technology. But
what observations have you made about other people learning Finnish?
That's a really good question.
Thank you. I wrote it myself.
Wow.
I'm a big boy now.
ChatGPT. So one thing, I think the biggest mistake which people make, especially women have a problem with this, is that they don't go over the awkwardness of talking to people.
Oh.
I think men probably have more problems with the laziness than women, but for a lot of women, they understand a lot, but then they never talk because they're too shy, and they don't want to get in this situation where they have to be the like weird guy who doesn't know how to speak. Oh, that was by the way in the choir. That was also for me like something personal, which was really really heartfelt. That I could just be the weird special guy who was like enthusiastic about Finnish language and I don't know, lying on the ground in the back rows of the choir, like, and reading my book while we were having a break. It was like that was like on a weekend where it was a little bit different than just like choir session. But so like this kind of things were just like study randomly and stuff like that. So this situation of you going into the awkward places of also like sustaining the silence while you don't remember a word. That can feel really uncomfortable.
That's something I struggle with.
Yeah.
Just sustaining silence in general is something that I struggle with.
Especially when the other people are waiting for you to remember a word.
Right.
So that's one big thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and both are related to just like go over certain steps of uncomfortability, which are with Finnish crucial, because the second thing is that in Finnish you need a lot of work to be even able to talk. You need to first know the grammar and a ton of words to be even able to start. Because like in Italian or I don't know, Norwegian, you can just like use some words and then put them in a line and then people will somehow understand you. But that doesn't work in Finnish because they need the endings. And if they don't have the endings, they're just like that.
Yeah, right.
And so that means that like in order to be even able to talk, you first need to do a ton of work, and then people are at that point already like, oh, this is not fun. And then the next step is then to even like in your own head assemble those things. Like, okay, word, and then I need to put the word in another shape, and it takes a lot of processing power, and then I need to put it in a sentence. So those are all things which are like a little bit uncomfortable, and where people get demotivated because the fun with Finnish language starts much later. And there is a ton of fun. There's a real ton of fun when you learn the language, but it like the beginning is not, for most people, not fun.
Things just start moving smoothly when you cross a certain threshold of having to learn Finnish. It's just like, oh wow. It's
Yeah. And it's also like, it's just amazing the way how the Finnish language like is different from all other languages, and that you get really into this kind of different world. For me, it was really that I kind of dived into a whole different world, which was like opening up itself for me.
So, what other observations have you learned about? Do you have of other people learning other than?
So like the other observations, like the mistakes which most people make were not going over certain discomfortabilities. So like the shyness / awkwardness of people waiting for you to remember words, or something about like not wanting to learn the grammar. I think the most basic mistake is simply to not start and to be like, oh, this is impossible. Finnish has this myth about being an impossible language to learn. And especially if you know that you're gonna like stay here for work and also for like living here. I'm getting annoyed of it if I meet people who don't want to learn the language.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your choice of yours. Of course, everybody's adult, but I think if you're being in another country, then you should definitely like try to learn the language. Yeah, and also like if you don't start early enough, the probability that you're just gonna be at some point like, whatever, I get by English, is very high.
Right.
So if you start directly at the beginning, that's a very good
It's
choice.
like just your lifestyle.
Yeah. And also you waste the least time. You directly, since from the start you will like, at some point you have to do the work, and the earlier you do the work, the more time you have to perfection your
and to enjoy
Finnish,
life.
and to enjoy it. Yeah, exactly.
And the last person I interviewed, Hamed, his was very interesting. He basically was just actually quite similar to yours. It was more of just a lifestyle, just like very similar. Because you were not like I went to a course. You didn't really go to any Finnish.
No, I didn't go to any course actually.
Yeah. So he was just like lifestyle, and pretty much all of his friends that he made when he came as a refugee and he was in Oulu, and they were all speaking Finnish, and so just more of a lifestyle, just kind of, and then
I want to dive into the Finnish culture. I also wanted to like know how my view of the world is gonna change when I really go into like getting to know Finnish people on a like really Finnish level, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I think those are the main mistakes which most people observations. I haven't. If I meet somebody who does something really well, I rarely actually talk about them, like about how they had their techniques, because for me it's just like I got here, I don't need any like hints on it. It's just like something fun which we have in common, but
we don't. I don't think I usually talk about it with people until the reason for this was like a lot of people who were trying to learn were asking me, and then after they started asking me, and then this idea started coming into my head. That's when I started asking people like, so how did they go about it? That's when it started becoming But okay, are there like any kind of surprising or unconventional things you did that, well, pretty much all of it, that most people might not think of, and then everything else you did was like
Weird.
The 3,000 word book before you even arrived to
Yeah.
Finland. And yeah, but apart from the ones that you have mentioned, what other weird things did you, odd things did
If
you
there
do
was other things, other.
beyond the things you've already done?
I think there was some maybe. Oh, I actually did a psychotherapy in Finnish.
Elaborate, please.
So I'm not gonna go too much into the situations. I'm not gonna put this on the internet.
No.
But like there was some little complicated situation in my choir, which was at that point, like with a friend in the choir, which was at that point like the choir was my most. How do you say it? Like the tukipiiri, what is that? Like the thing
Support.
which my
Support
most
system.
important support system
Yeah.
in Finland.
Yeah.
And then at some point there was some social situation which made it not as safe for me, like to feel as safe as it had been before.
Right.
And I at that time I still had this thing of like wanting to prove myself super much. That was also part of the reason why I went to psychotherapy, because like it made it, in a certain sense, it made it impossible. It also blocked myself from actually being productive.
Mm-hmm.
And it also made it impossible to just relax and enjoy something and just like meet people. And while at the same time I really like wanted to meet people and just like, I don't know, not perform all the time. And,
Yeah. Wait, is this something you've gotten over?
yeah, mostly.
Okay.
I still have it, but
we need to talk.
yeah.
Because I still got that.
Yeah, I think nowadays I'm a little bit in the other way. I've gone a bit lazy over the last year, and now I'm back into this. I then started a psychotherapy, and apart from it, just would have been just exhausting to find somebody doing it in German, like to just find somebody and then like watching if we match. I actually didn't even want to. I wanted to do it in Finnish.
Okay.
Because I was interested in the idea of, okay, what would happen if I learn how to connect emotions with Finnish language.
Mm.
Because from the moment when I started learning Finnish, or to put it another way, actually this I think this trail of thought is really, really interesting. So when I was about like 15, 16, I was like not too stable.
Yeah.
I read this thing on the internet that if you have a depression for, I don't know, longer than 6 months, I think it was said, or longer than a year, then it's going to be permanent. And of course that's not true, but you read like stupid stuff on the internet, and then that was at that time for me really, really, really scary.
Right.
Because I had like, I was like 15, so everybody has a kind of depression at that age, or like a lot of people, but anyway, I had it quite roughly at that time, and then I had this thought, okay, maybe I will never be able to get over it, and that was really scary. So from that point, I developed this thing like, okay, no, but I want to prove that this is wrong, and I want to see if it's actually possible to restructure your brain on a very deep level. Mm-hmm. That's also where some of these emotion, like deep concentrating onto emotions things comes from. Okay. In the sense of that I wanted to like restructure the very like childish part of my brain, like the deep ground structures, and like dive into those. Nowadays I know from just experience that if you do that all the time, that you might also structure them in the wrong way if you don't do it in the same way. But it's definitely possible.
Right. And
I also read, for example, that it's not possible to learn any language the same way how you know your mother tongue, like to feel it the same way how you feel about your mother tongue.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to learn the Finnish language. Like I wanted to also prove that thing wrong. I wanted to know what happens if I really like focus on the emotions while I feel a word. Mm. That's also related to why I focus on the things like how I felt it while I was reading those things.
Words.
Because I wanted to know what happens if I try to ingrain the words really deep.
Yeah.
I don't know if that actually like really worked, or it was just some kind of self-experiment. But that was the reason why I wanted to also start psychotherapy in Finnish.
Yeah.
Because then I like learned to talk about emotions in Finnish. And
right.
Yeah, it was really, really great. I not a single time regretted that I did it in Finnish.
Okay. And do you feel like, so one, it helped with the Finnish, but did you feel like the psychotherapy itself was, you were able to make use of it even?
Yeah.
There was
100%.
words the words. You're able to make use of it, even though
As a
it was
psychotherapy, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Like sometimes it was a little nasty,
Okay.
or not nasty, but sometimes it was I was struggling a bit with expressing some things.
Yeah.
Mostly not, but sometimes. Of course, you don't get into that easy flow, but also that gets better over time. And at some point you're like at 80-90% of what it would have been in like English.
Yeah.
And then of course, like, you have the nice part about it is that, like, if for example you have here something going on, I notice, for example, if I have something emotional, some emotional nasty stuff going on, or like something which is bothering me in my mind, and it's about a person who is Finnish, then I will, those discussions which you then repeat and repeat and repeat in your own head, there will be in Finnish.
Oh.
In that time.
Oh,
like,
okay.
if it's somebody who is Finnish.
Yeah.
And if it's
Okay.
somebody who's German, it's normally going to be in German.
Yeah.
And I think that would have, like, if my psychotherapy would have been in German,
Yeah.
or in English, that would have influenced the way of how I then think about those situations, because, like, in the psychotherapy, you of course also think about those social situations a lot, or like talk about those a lot.
Right.
So yeah, that like, from all kinds of perspectives, it was just the better choice, and I never regretted it to have done it in Finnish.
Yeah, this is a very interesting one I've never heard of. Well, there's several things you've said that I've never heard before. So, it's quite fascinating. I was going to ask about, like, what are passive things you did, but I don't think in your case it's really relevant.
Passive things. What do you
Yeah.
mean, passive things?
So, most people kind of take a normal, slow approach to, those who do get there, take this kind of normal, slow approach to it, right? And then you set up certain things in your life that maybe the place that I go do football at, there, it's all Finnish.
That's the choir for me, of course.
Right, but then basically these are not things that you require you to switch. You force yourself to you know, like if you go to the gym, you have to get yourself to get up and go to the gym.
Yeah.
These are not those kind of things where you have to actively do something. It's just by you existing, it works in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, those kind of. But then for you, I feel like a majority of the things were. Well, actually, I think I would say majority of the things in a way were, in terms of integration, were passive, because you just force yourself into those situations, and then it just kept running.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, at that time I would say most of the things were feeling at least active,
Okay.
in the sense of that I was like trying to push myself all the time. It was also counterproductive, as I said, like push myself all the time out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, like going into the country, of course, going into meeting all those choirs, studying in Finnish nowadays, of course. At that time, no, I think that was still important. I was still at B2 about when I was starting to study Finnish, but those are the passive things.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can also recommend reading Mika Valtari and The Hobbit in Finnish. I did those two.
The Hobbit.
Yeah, The Hobbit is like really nice in the nature, because Finnish has a lot of nice nature words.
Yeah.
But I have to say, like, probably there's still a ton of words which from The Hobbit which I still don't know.
Right.
I went through them, but I never repeated them. So
Right. Yeah. That's. I would imagine that, and also Lord of the Rings are probably not easy to read.
I don't
to
know.
begin with. But.
I think it's okay. But there's a ton of nature words which you just we're just like something about some like area of stones has an own word.
Okay.
Like where there's like ton of like this kind of stony area.
Yeah.
With a lot of like single.
Right. Because
big
yeah,
rocks.
it just the books do describe a lot of like what is it called, terraneous
Yeah.
regions. So
Yeah. Did you read it in any other language?
No. Well, from the movies, like it has to have been well described enough for the scenery to be that specific as they are. That's just my putting two and two together, kind of. Yeah. But I did try reading Lord of the Rings in English, and it was like quite boring.
Yeah, I think The Hobbit is better. I never tried to read Lord of the Rings, or I read one chapter. It was just super confusing.
Right. Yeah. Then, so active things that you did, right? Did you have a steady routine? Okay, speaking habits. Well, for sure, the places that you went to, you had to speak.
Yeah, I don't think my life at that time was so chaotic at the like most important part that there was no real good routine except for the thing of getting addicted to writing those words down.
When would you do that? This writing thing?
No, that was just anytime I had time. Like it was random.
Okay.
But
How random? Like, are we talking like when you're at home or when you're on the bus or like?
Basically, every time I had time and I didn't want to learn anything else, I was doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Were you one of those bus people who just like?
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still.
Yeah. I try to be. It doesn't always come, but yeah. And how have you integrated yourself into Finland? But then you went straight into an Airbnb with a Finnish family.
Yeah.
And I just from this conversation, I bet you were speaking Finnish.
I tried. Like, actually, at that time, I wasn't always. I think I was like 2/3 speaking English still
Okay.
during the first 1 month,
Okay.
and then from that on.
And then what about the from there you moved to the house in the forest?
Yeah, that girl didn't. That old woman.
Yeah.
She didn't speak any well English, so.
So you just spoke Finnish with her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then-
I think once a month there was like some foster children coming to her,
Oh.
and those ones spoke only English, only Finnish, of course. So they are
Oh.
also. Yeah.
Right. But then this was a period of time when you also joined the choir as well.
Yeah.
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 So,
So yeah, in the choir I never spoke any English.
so this is all kind of like integration as well. And then
Yeah.
And then after the, I mean, you're still in the choir. You said you joined 4 choirs.
Yeah, I'm not in all of them. Like I'm just in the one, and I also dropped that. I'm in that one. I'm now only for the joulukoncert, like for the Christmas concert.
Okay.
But I also like I'm not in even one choir.
Okay. Okay.
I have been in 2 of them when I came back to study in Finland. That was just like for the first month where I just wanted to learn as much Finnish as possible.
Just by the way, did you guys perform in the Rock Church some years ago?
At some point, yeah, but there's a ton of choirs who do perform there.
Oh, okay. Okay. 'Cause I went to see one lady I work with who was in a choir, and she mentioned something. It had something to do with Aalto University. I think.
Oh no, that's probably dominanto or dissonancy, I guess. If it was an alto choir.
I think so, but it was an older lady, so.
Oh no.
Then okay, yeah. But
No, it's a student choir.
Okay, yeah. And okay, so from your experience, when people don't succeed at learning Finnish, what has usually been the reason?
Just that they stop at some point, and that they don't do it enough per day,
Right.
or that they don't start.
And what would you say? What would you say is enough per day?
Half an hour to an hour.
Okay.
But if it's half an hour, it has to be every day. If it's an hour, it's enough if you do it like, I don't know, between 3 and 5 times per week.
Okay. And okay, now. Ooh, yes. What did you do that others don't?
I don't know what others do.
Fair. Well, for sure, a lot of people go on courses.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think courses are bad,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest. Like, I did go for just taking the course to get like some credits.
Mhm.
I didn't actually finish, or I took one course, but it was it was an online course then. But then it was already when I was at B1,
Okay.
or I actually, yeah, when I already studied.
Yeah.
I was here 1. I wrote my bachelor thesis in Finnish.
What? Okay.
I don't think it was I was useful for like perfection in it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't useful for learning, of course, because I had to already be like that was a year ago. So
I mean, you already spoke at that level.
yeah, I was already at least at B2, probably C1, at least.
If you're writing your bachelor's thesis,
Yes,
you're not at B2. You're not B2.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
definitely the C
Yeah,
level. And I heard you speak. We talked on the phone.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
I heard you
yeah.
speak, and that's not. You're not the
Yeah,
B's. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're past B's. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I'm not sure if I would pass the C2 test, but I
Definitely C1.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
But C2 is also like just insane sometimes. Some Finnish people don't pass it. So.
Yeah, there's a lady I interviewed for, Deborah. She in 3 years got to C2, and got into law school. So she started this
Okay.
September.
Did she pass the first time she tried the C2 test?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, she was hardcore with us. Like,
Yeah.
impressive though. But then you got to B1 in 15 months, and you were
Yeah.
and you were in the country for like, of those 15 months, you were in the country for only 3 or 4.
Yeah, and
So
one and a
that-
half of those 3 or 4 were Corona, or 2.5 actually.
Right. So
So
that's
I couldn't
also
really talk to many people.
insanely like hardcore as well to
Yeah.
to do. Yeah. So 6 parts to learning a language: speaking, listening, grammar, reading, writing, vocabulary. So let's start with speaking.
Going out to do the uncomfortable work and speaking enthusiastically with emotions.
Listening or listening comprehension.
Watching movies maybe, and just talking a lot.
Grammar.
Well, that was this Johannes this presentation which he used the German university presentation, and I just read it 1,000 times.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Just repetition of that.
Yeah, I think it was just repetition.
Wow.
Nothing special.
Wow. Okay. So you can't really just keep it simple and then just.
Yeah. That worked well. I just also liked the subject, so
Yeah.
then it makes it easier to remember things if you're really interested.
Right. And then what about reading comprehension?
I read this for the medicine exam. I read this books about biology at that time. A little bit of Mika Valtari,
Mm-hmm.
but just mostly. I think those also just come from grammar plus vocabulary. You don't need much more, or you actually don't need anything more.
Right. Right. Yeah. And then what about writing? How did you practice writing?
I think at the beginning I didn't practice writing so much. Or did I? I don't remember.
Weren't you said you were writing from the vocabulary book? You were writing things out.
Yeah, but that's not writing in the sense that you like write whole sentences. It was just like writing the words.
Just the words.
Yeah, just
Okay.
the words and the translations.
Okay.
Writing in the sense of like writing something which makes sense.
Yeah.
I only did like notes from my vocabulary, from my biology books for the medicine test, but nothing else.
Wait. So when you were reading the biology book in Finnish, you were making the notes
In Finnish.
as
Yeah.
well.
Mostly, yeah.
I see. Yeah, this is very hardcore.
But it also takes of course, it would also take processing time to then translate them into German, right?
True.
So sometimes it's just like
Easier to-
nicer.
yeah. Fair point. Yeah. And then vocabulary. How did you?
Yeah, that's just like brute force.
Yeah. The book
Nothing-
at the beginning and then the
brute,
dictionary.
Yeah. That also felt like sometimes super inefficient,
Right.
but I don't know if it really was.
Okay. Yeah. So in the story or in the timeline, we got to the part where you got to June 2020, where you said you have reached B1. How do you go from B1 to C level?
Okay, so big part was just like studying in Finnish and continue to talk a lot.
When did
And
you
then-
start studying?
I started,
When did you study start?
So I then after Corona I didn't directly get my place because I didn't get B2. You need B2 to get into your university.
Okay.
And I also didn't know if I wanted to stay during Corona in another country.
Okay.
And then I just went to Berlin because Berlin was a partner university of Aalto. And at that time it was also kind of clear that I didn't want to study medicine anymore.
Mm.
And then I just did an Erasmus the next year, so
Mhm.
2021.
Mhm.
And after that Erasmus, so that was basically when I started studying here. But after that Erasmus, I just switched to the Finnish program and basically just continued my studies in a way. And so that studying was definitely something which brought me higher up. Then the other thing was taking notes, like really listening to what other people say, and then if I notice I don't know a word, then like writing that word down.
Mm.
Is kind of like cleaning the gaps, or like how do you say it? When you have trousers and then you like fill in the gaps, like some hole in the
Patching.
trousers, patching.
Yeah.
That one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that was basically what
You
pushed
speak
me.
better than me, man.
That one was something. That's exactly the choir thing. Some people also really like to tell me weird words.
Right.
So one girl, I'm actually gonna see her on Thursday. She at some point told me this difference between parsia and harsia, and I don't remember anymore what is the difference. But one thing is like that you patch something,
Yeah.
and the other thing is that you patch something, but not in a way that it's like gonna be the end solution, but just like for quickly doing it, like just quickly putting some threads through it so it's like holds.
Yeah.
And I think harsia is that one. I never used it in my life, but
The fact that you remember it, so that's
yeah. So one thing.
Yeah.
Find people who like to tell you weird words.
Right.
who like to teach you the language and be like.
Yeah, I think for me, Sarah was definitely that. One of my friends. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, studies. We're talking about how you went from B to C, and yeah. So studies was, I guess, a big part. And then what else did you do to get to C?
I think I said already all of them. Studies. The words bachelor thesis bachelor thesis then was to like get the academic language. I have this friend who's very precise on some things, and he really liked reading my bachelor thesis and then correcting it and putting it into the right shapes. That was amazing. Wow. That was really cool.
That's really nice to have.
And then so that was like for more like structure and feeling of the words, on how they connect to each other. What else? Still reading those books, like trying to. Or what you need is that you take different subjects and you read from different subjects, because at some point, for example, people think, academic language, that's going to be so difficult. But actually, if you read something about electrical engineering, for example, it's getting really fast to the level where you're like, I know all those words, because there is not so much academic words which are either not related to Latin, or and then also like not always the same.
Right.
So you need to, if you do that, then you need to read child books and then maybe some adult novels. Yeah. I don't mean porn novels, but like you need to cut that out again.
The fact that you had to I'll keep that in. The fact that you had to clarify that.
I never read 50 Shades of Grey in Finnish. Just disclaimer. No, I was more referring to the Mika Batari thing.
Right.
I guess you could also watch some, but I don't think it's gonna teach you too much.
No. Okay, so that's how you went from the B to C. But I'm guessing, of course, you did the same. A lot of you were still doing some of the same things you did to get from 0 to B as well.
Yeah, I wasn't as much into this like I need to focus now thingy. At that time I had already calmed down a little bit.
Okay. So
yeah, I noticed some patterns there and managed to like get a little bit calmer approach to those things. So yeah.
Gotcha. Tell me about like the times that you found it most difficult to continue chasing the goal.
There was no like there wasn't anything like where I was.
Okay.
Oh no, I'm gonna stop. Oh.
Right.
Maybe a little bit at the beginning, like, is this useful?
Okay.
But I was just like so, I don't know, so weirdly passionate about it, like so like, oh, but this is cool.
Right. That is a very
super useless, but this is so cool.
Yeah, that's definitely very niche way of Okay. But regardless, then, what words of encouragement do you have for people who are trying to learn this?
So first of all, the thing that is definitely possible and that is 100% worth it, that is the most important. And then also, it's not necessary to like bust yourself up. It's the only thing what is necessary is, or it's also not necessary to do it for a super long time. You can actually do it in a short time. You can learn to a good level in half a year. I have a friend who did that. And I would have done it if I would have been in Finland and not like just reading in books.
Yeah.
So it's not like something where you're like starting and then at some point in your future you're gonna manage it. If you really want it, you can do it in half a year, and from that point on start to enjoying it. Still continuing, of course. Like in half a year you're not gonna get above B1, but it's definitely worth it, and it's definitely possible to get it to a level where it's like fun, fast. The only thing which you need to do is to go into the uncomfortable areas in a clever way. And I think we already in this episode told you this situations in which you need to go, which are the important uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. How has your life become? I mean, okay, this is. I don't know how you feel about this one, but then how has your life become better now that you live in Finland? Because most of my guests, they started not speaking Finnish when they learned Finnish. So this is very relevant for them. I don't know how you feel about this.
Well, so I'm the only one who, or like one of the only ones who, like, started directly when they came.
I think Hamid started directly when he came. Also, Deborah probably started directly when she came. A few people started directly when they came, but you started before you came.
Yeah, true.
You're the only one who started before you came.
True. Ah, okay.
So, yeah. Or did Senya start before? I think maybe she said she had one brief thing, some brief course thing, but she didn't really.
Okay.
Wasn't into it. So she should basically start from zero once you arrive.
Yeah.
So
definitely. By the way, I don't recommend to start more than 2 months before you come.
Okay.
I don't think, like, I did a lot of useless work.
Okay.
Or not useless work, but like inefficient work.
Okay.
Because okay, no, let's put it differently. 3 months is nice, because then you have the package which makes it fun to start. But more is, less is kind of basically that you just don't need to be in the country, and more is going to be that you would need to be in the country to be more efficient.
Okay.
Because at some point, like, first you need to learn the vocabulary, otherwise talking to people doesn't make sense. And at some point, learning more vocabulary is slower than just talking to people.
Right. Okay. But would you say your life is how much better is your life here now that you learned you spoke Finnish?
I mean, it also, there's so many different things coming to it, right? I did a psychotherapy during that time. I moved to the other country, just as you said, like, I learned first and then I moved. The Corona hit, so I don't have Corona anymore, so that was like a big thing, which made my life better. I cannot really say, but like definitely to have the life I have now, like having a good friends circle and talking with most of them in Finnish and like being deep into the culture, it's definitely like only possible because I know Finnish. And I don't think I would have the same amount of understanding for the Finnish culture and the same amount of friends or same level of friendship with those people if I wouldn't be able to speak Finnish.
Right. But yeah, this is I think this is all I have. This is all I have, and yeah.
You also drained it all out of me. So there was nothing which I could still say. I think
this is good.
There was nothing really important, at least.
Yeah. Well, yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in to this episode, and yeah.
Stay motivated. I hope you get the one or other inspiration.
Yeah. This has been great. This is great. Thank you.